Well, folks, we are in for a treat today. We have John Crudele amongst us. John is a respected speaker, author, and a leadership coach. Over the past 35 years, more than 2 million people have been inspired by John's stories. He speaks for organizations, conferences, schools, as well as does individual leadership coaching. John is a founder of Partnership for Youth. He is a founding partner with the John Maxwell team, the co-author of Making Sense of Adolescence, a contributing author to the Teen Power series, and he even has a story in one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. John serves on the board of Risen Savior Missions, an organization that does tremendous amount of work in the Philippines. I'm sure we are going to hear some of those stories today. John is a dedicated Rotarian for the last 12 years, immediate past president of Eden Prairie Morning Club. More importantly, John is a dear friend. So let's take this inspirational journey with John. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Crudele.
Raj, thank you for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you, with your members here this morning, with all the guests that you have in Membership Month. My gosh, I think we have 12 to 15 guests here this morning. I was losing count, and they're from all over the world. It's just remarkable. And so you have much to look forward to in your club with Rotary Club of Maple Grove. And I'm thrilled to be invited. Raj is a friend. I've known him since I was finishing up my presidency last year with the Eden Prairie Morning, and really respected as he came in as president. And I had heard about him from Tom Gump and Lloyd Campbell and others here in our district about his leadership after they had visited the club and all that he had going on virtually and bringing in new members. And so reached out to get to know him then. And I was a past president now. So president last year, when we flipped to going to Zoom right away, we missed one meeting, which was March 17th. On the 24th, we had our first virtual meeting, and I think I led 14 of those. And it's, when in crisis, Michael Hyatt says, ask the question, what does this make possible? Whenever in crisis, ask the question, what does this make possible? And at the same time, embrace, let's see what wants to happen. And in this last year, I mean, as I listened to Casey share his heart and talks about relationships and connections and being a hugger in Minnesota, which typically isn't a natural because of the social distancing. Social distancing to 6 feet meant that we had to actually get closer to people than further away from them. So it's this has been a remarkable year, and it's a pleasure to have this time to just be with you. I really respect everything that you are. And, together we connect, we inspire, and we save lives. I heard that message come through this morning, and I think that could be the essence behind the message that I hope to share with you here as we take some time together. So I'm going to share my screen, and I hope to do that. But if you got a handout emailed to you, and if you open it, you're going to find that to be quite helpful. DeWitt Jones says that the sunset is beautiful, and if you miss the sunset, it's not the sunset's fault. And so what happens is how the sunset comes to us is about the sunset, but what we say about the sunset is how we come to the sunset. The banquet is set, though few are there. And so often it's about the lens and the perspective, the mindsets that we bring to the situations that we're in. And as we shift the situation and see people and see situations and see our future in different ways, then that future starts to become possible in that way. And so here in Membership Month, my gosh, I've spoken to clubs with fewer members than you have as guests here today. It's just remarkable. And to say, what is it that we want to do together in Rotary, and that we are a group of people who want to make a difference, doing something that makes a difference with people who make a difference at a time that makes a difference. And so we are people of action. And you are too. Are you seeing this, a picture of yourselves?
Yep.
Perfect. Then we're in the same spot. Going to your website and seeing pictures of you was so impressive. And to see the backgrounds of all the things that you're sharing and doing, the $85,000 in PPE, the reaching out with Project Happiness and other things that you've been a part of. It's just unreal that your club has reached out with over $400,000 worth of grants over the past year. I was on your gala. Raj reached out to me and said, hey, join the gala. And this is a screenshot of you guys. I mean, this is like at the end waving goodbye. And there's Raj in the corner, and you might find yourself in there somewhere. Tom singing happy birthday. Tom Anderson, you said Tommy pal, I think I caught you at the end, so I can catch your face in here as well. But you inspire me. And this happened to be a screenshot. Who is the young man that was emceeing? Tony. So Tony, I didn't superimpose him. I was trying to take a picture of Tony, and then it transitioned with him. I thought, hey, this is kind of a cool shot. It's kind of like the view of Christmas future or past, or the ghost that's there. But I mean, this voice is there, and to see and watch you inspire, and all the sponsors that you have. But why are you doing it? Just to raise money? It has nothing to do with what's on this side. It has everything to do with what's on the other side, which is that our why always determines our way. Our purpose determines our path. And our passions determine the directions that we go. But it's even more than the why. It's the just cause that's on the other side. And I want to impact into that. This is, again, our buddy Raj, and a screenshot, and some of the things that give a damn. And what's because of that is the water. And so these are so many of the things that are important to you. What's important to me in many ways is working with youth. This happens to be Camp Ryla that 5960 puts on. And for the last 11 years, other than this last year, I've been privileged to do, I think, typically the Sunday night talk. And in that, I invite young people to come up and share. And the response to the sharing of a young person is they come together and they give group hugs. And they'll be doing this as they talk about so many of their issues, and we create a safe place for it. It's a place of my heart. My background is that I've spoken in about 4,500 talks and 2 million kids and adults and parents. But a big part of my heart is I've been in 1,200 high schools and 900 junior highs. And so it's just remarkable to be with young people. It's energy with, hormones with tennis shoes, and these young people are going after it. But whatever road it may be to the world, it'll be known as the results that we achieve. And so in everything, it's about making a difference. So a couple themes here as we move together, and I want to honor our time as well. I want to make a difference doing something that makes a difference at a time that makes a difference with people that make a difference. David Mcnally, he's actually local here. He's the author of Even Eagles Need a Push. The most positive motivational force in the world is a cause. And I'd invite you to think about the just causes. And when we come to Rotary, it is so much about the causes at the end of the day. A why comes out of our own past. It's our history story. It's part of what brought us here. Something in our past gives us a deep why, but a just cause, we can embrace that because it's something that we find inspirational. It doesn't need to come out of our lives. And the things that come from leadership, like through your club, showing you the projects that you can give to, those are those just causes. This is one that was real personal to me because it comes from one of my members, Carol Bombin, and it was Coffee Wisdom preparing for my presidency. And she said, John, I love being a bridge. We need to keep asking what gives us satisfaction to continue to do more. Service is about we all live together. So how are we going to live together? And so that's the theme here this morning about being a bridge. And Rotary opens opportunities and connects the world. And this bridge is in the Philippines. And I'm part of Risen Savior Missions Board. I've been in the Philippines 53 days over the course of 3 trips. This is in Katarman in North Samar. And let's just use this as a metaphor today and see if you can find some inspiration in it. Jerry said, let's cross the bridge instead of taking the boat. And so when I looked across the bridge from one side to the other, I had to ask the question, why cross the bridge? Why join Rotary? Why become a part of something else that's in your life? It needs to be able to enrich us in ways than more than what we give to it. At the same time, who we become in the process. And at the same time, it's about a place that might be a conduit to giving that enriches our heart. Jerry is 80 years old, and he says, come on, John, you got to try this at least once. He puts a towel on his hand so that he doesn't get tetanus, and he's telling me to watch out for the holes. Okay, so you're looking at the bridge. is with her brother. They've got Feed My Starving Children meals on their head, and we're going to be taking that across the bridge. The kids are running past us in the Philippines with flip-flops on. They are running down the bridge. I am gingerly walking across this bridge. Raj, you're smiling. Is this something like what you can see this in different parts of the world? There's nothing like third world love. So I get to the hole and I'm looking down and it's getting personal, you know? You're sitting there and you're going, I'm on this bridge and I have to keep asking, why cross? Remember, the why determines the way, which is your path. The why is your purpose. What do you cry about? What do you sing about? What do you dream about? Discover your story of significance. Significance comes from using what you have to benefit others. So this is Sister Mary Vict. She's a little nun. She's personally fed over 50,000 children herself. She is a lead person in so many of the feeding sites that we go into. And here she is hanging on, crossing, and she gets to this place. Notice the size of this hole. Joel, I can see you on the screen. Notice the size of this hole. It goes across the entire, I'm going to change my screen so I can see just a few more faces here. Okay, so I mean, you're seeing this. Now, here's what happens. Would you do that? Flip-flops on the cables. Sister Mary Vict. You might have memories of nuns growing up. Probably this is not one of them. And so I get to that spot. And something occurred to me, and this is a line to write down. And it's be where your feet are. Whatever happens in our life, be what our feet are. COVID hit, and we had to decide, are we going to be where our feet are? If we're wishing for a future, then we're trying to be in a future place that doesn't exist. If we're wishing that it could go back to the past, we're now got a foot in the past, and we're missing the present. In everything that we do, the PPE, the turning of these different projects that you came across to say, we're going to be where our feet are. What is necessary now? What's important now? When? What's important now? And it's because of what's on the other side. It's always because of what's on the other side. And on the other side, after a ride in a little car, there we are in this village, and the mothers are there smiling. Little guy with the Manapack rice. If you've packed it, Feed My Starving Children, something that you packed ended up in the Philippines. We shipped right at 12 million meals to the Philippines and fed over 100,000 kids this year. We're down from 18 million meals. And Mac climbs into my lap. Who's in your heart? Who's in the lap of your life? You stand down and you just squat down just because you're wearing the shirt. This hug could take place in India. This hug could take place in Nigeria. This hug could take place in any of the countries represented around the world and around our table this morning. And they love to just group up close, nothing like third world love. And as you go to leave and you close the van door, they're looking up. And this is in Negros, in a village that was starving. And in 5 years, they turned that entire village around because of the help of someone. This message isn't about Risen Savior missions. This message is about your causes. It's about the things that you are doing and why you step up. How come you give to a gala? How come you give of your time, your talent, your treasures? Why do you meet in the different committees that resonate with your heart, that touch your causes? This is a video you're going to see next week about early reading. And you see the doctor there, and you see the little girl in the books. And these are things specific to your club, which touches the world. Those relationships matter. So be the bridge. And what I discovered about the bridge, when I started my presidency, I used many of these slides. And at the beginning of my year, a year and a half ago, I said, let's cross the bridge together. But in being president for a year of Rotary and then being on committees and being immersed in a way that I'd never been immersed before, I realized that really we're not crossing the bridge. That's when we write a check and we just say, okay, get that across the bridge. When we show up with ourselves and our lives, or we invest our hearts, now we become the bridge. And something in all humility that I've discovered, because you get embedded as a speaker, whatever it is, a coach, you're supposed to have the answers. is that the bridge has holes in it, and so do we. And those wounds in our lives, I've always discovered in speaking to people that on the threshold of defensiveness is always the next discovery. That all habits, attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors will defend themselves until either their death or yours, whichever comes first. And remember the day that your mom and dad's voice started to come out of your mouth and you couldn't stop it? Remember the day you said, I promised I'll never say that again, and then it came out? Remember the day that you discovered that you'd become one of your parents and you married the other one? Okay, which is great if they're not, a little bit crazy. Point is that who we are impacts, and the environments we came from impact, and the environments that we create impact, and we get to do our work. Whatever came out of our past might explain some things, but it doesn't excuse them. And so when we show up in the present and we become present in the present, what can happen? How do we give to each other? How do we receive each other? Are you truly present? Are you truly present? Is it better to give or is it better to receive? You ever thought of that? What have we heard? Have we heard it's better to give, or have we heard that it's better to receive?
To give.
Better to give. So think about this. Okay, I'm gonna take a risk here. I'm gonna stop sharing. Let's see if this will come back to where we can see it for me, or you can pin me. Are you seeing me in full screen here?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm seeing Raj in full screen. The present. Do you feel the best when you pick out a present and give it to somebody, or when the present you give them is received and cherished and celebrated? When do you feel the deepest sense of intimacy and connection with somebody? When you give them the gift, or when they receive the gift that you picked out from them? When do you feel that deepest connection? When it's given or when it's received?
When it's received.
When it's received. And so the greatest gift we can give other people is often how we receive them as a gift. We are wired to give. But if I get this present, and let's say I see Raj here full screen, so I'm just going to go with Raj, and he's a buddy and a pal over the last year, respect him dearly. If I give him this, when I give him a present, it says three things. This presentation this morning, the work that I put into it to customize it for your group, that's part of my gift today. It says something about me, it says something about you and the respect I have, and it says something about our relationships. There are three parts to a gift. The key is to give all three parts. When you are doing something in India, when you're doing something with PPE, with those 415 healthcare places, when you're doing Project Happiness, it says something about you, it says something about them, and it says something about the relationship. People get into Rotary for a lot of reasons, yet after 2 years, they're staying for the relationships, they're staying for the causes, they're staying for the, as Casey says, for the hugs, for the connection. They're staying for the difference. It's something that we get into something and then it gets into us. The key is that we give these three parts. But when somebody else is giving to you, make sure you receive all three parts. Receive, what does this say about you? Receive, what does it say about them? Receive, what does it say about the relationships? Parents often say, I'm giving my kids everything in the world. The key is the kids are getting influence from their peers because they're with a group that receives them all the time. And so it's the power of how we receive other people and receive. You're looking at what you give, yet when you go there, do you receive the recipients that are receiving the gift that you give? And I believe that we do in Rotary. So we be the bridge. Are you seeing that now again? Good, thank you. What makes a difference? If we're looking at the handout together, I'll take you through some things. The handout's already filled out, so even though we just have a few minutes, I can touch on this, and it's already filled out for you to complete in your own time. There's 3 connection questions. Do you care for me? Can you help me? Can I trust you? Nothing to fill out today. You just get to follow along and get a highlighter if you like. And so, we go where people are and we bring them to us. Do you care? Can I help you? Can I trust you? That's what everyone is always asking. People want to know that they're not alone, that they're accepted, and there's a pathway. And if you can meet people there and receive them, you can bring them to another place. They're asking this. They're asking these questions. Feel listened to, feel taken seriously, and feel significant. I was terrified of speaking. And as I got into working with young people after college, I was a business major. It just started to open me up. But what I found was it wasn't what I brought to the audience. It was whether I sat with them. I was paid to speak. I was thanked for listening afterwards. It was that time. Do people in each of our situations, each of our connections, each of our communications, do they feel listened to? Do they feel taken seriously? Do they feel significant? I think Jennifer had the record with how many people on today, and Raj was right there, and other people, and Julie said, connect with me. And you can tell she's a connector. She's there to listen to, take seriously, feel significant. Your club does this. Connection begins when the other person feels valued. What can I do to increase my value to other people? Build an action plan and create daily habits that increase the value for others. Now, there's words of good intention. Desires, wish, someday, fantasy, somebody should, survival. There's words of intentional living, which takes it to the next level. Action, purpose, today, strategy. Definitely. But if you put them all together here, it leads to a life that matters, results, fulfillment, and every day I do significance. Here's what it looks like to move from the left to the right. You might have a desire, it leads to an action, but we're actually looking at the results. You were showing me a video of the results of the actions you took because of the desire you had. You can look at what you hopefully could do, and then you definitely did this and continually. Somebody should, you said, I will raise the monies to create this $400,000 worth of giving. Somebody should, I will, and then you did it. With your gala, you did it in the grants that you wrote to leverage that, which is one of the beautiful gifts of Rotary, was the power of the leverage and the multiplier. And so building that life that matters, about being intentional versus accidental in each of the areas of your life. What's the most important language in the world? It's your customers, it's your child's, it's your spouse's, it's the other person's language. For us to wake up and say, how can I put a 10 on their forehead every single day and be intentional with myself, my family, my team, my organization, my community? You can hear, I'll just keep coming back to Casey, you can hear his heart, and Dr. Pop sings in the same way. And he says, hey, what's it like to be on the other side of me in each of the circles of influence? This is the leader mirror. Versus being proactive versus reactive, intentional versus accidental, to be consistent versus inconsistent. And so in the core process, what is my learning opportunity? And so it's always to know yourself, to lead yourself. And this is coming from a place which is my opportunity for learning. It's called Call It, Own It, Respond, and Execute. And I'm just giving you a couple screenshots of some things that if you just put this into your mindset and look through the lens of, I've got 100 of these, but we're picking out 4 or 5 of them, what might happen today? If you think about what's on the other side of you, how are they responding to you, be intentional, and then to call it, own it, respond, and execute, to move from know yourself to lead yourself. And in the support challenge metrics, we have high support and high challenge, low challenge and low support. What does our culture and our organization look like? What does our family look like? In the lowest one area, it's protect. It's a culture of entitlement and mistrust. Another is to abdicate. It's a culture of apathy and low expectation. Another is to dominate, culture of fear and manipulation. When you think of your families of origin, what might have been your family experience? And could that be something that's already internalized in you, which makes you either comfortable in that situation and or you might replicate that situation unknowingly because it's just kind of imbued within you until you start to address it in a proactive way. But to liberate, it's a culture of empowerment and opportunity. When I first met Raj, and here he is in retirement, I don't think he's ever worked harder, and he's working harder on things and passions to his life. And each of you do as you intersect with Rotary. They say volunteer for this for 1 year, and 11 years later, you're still leading it, which seems to be, it's until death do us part when we come in to liberate. A culture of empowerment and opportunity is high support and high challenge. And so the mindset of the leader is to fight for the highest good in the lives of those you lead. So in each day, what specific support and challenge do they need from me? What role do we want them to play on the team? Are we clear on our expectations? What is the tendency or pattern that undermines their influence or my own influence with others? And how can I help them get to the next level? So Greg's in my Rotary Club, and I'll end with this story. He challenged me to run. He's done 93 marathons, 200 triathlons, and I got a coaching program and a silent auction at our gala a couple years ago. And I wanted to do a 5K, and the 5K became Randy's run. And the night before, after he'd helped me prep for it, he said, "What time's the run in the morning?" I said, "Well, it's at 8:00. He said, "I'm going to run it with you." And so here's Greg, and he's in my ear. And as we go around this is Randy's run around in Eden Prairie, Purgatory Creek, which gets its name for a good reason. And he's in my ear, a half a step behind me at the crossing line, going, finish strong, run your own race. Run your own race. That's a Rotarian coming alongside of another one to say, how can I help them by being a difference maker? So difference makers, we connect the world, we open opportunities. The connection is deepened by how we present, both to give and receive each other in the moment. We are chartered to be the gift, to be a light that shines into the world, your community and each other. I mean, as guests today, this is what you're finding out more and more about through the friendships and the relationships that invited you here today. It's what the Maple Grove Rotary Club of Maple Grove knows. To light the pathway to possibility and purpose, to be a bridge to the causes that matter most. In your life, be the bridge. And in doing so, you're difference makers. It's been a pleasure being here with you this morning. And let me just jump back and be present with you. Thanks for having me, Raj.
Thank you, John. Wow. Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you. Now I'm going to officially close the meeting because it's 8:00, but we are going to continue with John. Anybody has questions for a few minutes, John has graciously agreed to stay. Before the guests leave, I do want to thank them. We have wonderful representation for a wonderful talk today. We had a lot of organizations. We had obviously Rotary from here, and from Nigeria we had IAM, we had Chance Foundation, we had Cross, all represented here. Perfect for being the bridge. These are the bridges that are getting from one side to the other and helping so many people around the world. So with that, those who are leaving, please be safe, be healthy, and help many. And the rest of us can stay here. And if there are questions for John, we can continue.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yep.
I mean, John, wow. I mean, Raj said it, wow. I mean, this was amazing. You know what? And my response to you, it kind of brings out my Italian heritage. I don't know if you've ever seen the movies Analyze This or Analyze That.
Yeah.
Okay. And Robert De Niro says, "You have a gift." I mean, you gave us a gift this morning, but you have a gift. Thank you.
Yes, he does. Thanks, John.
Receive that. Thank you. My contact information's in the handout, and if there's any coaching and support that I can offer and be part of, but it's just a pleasure to give and receive with you today. Other questions or comments?
Being the bridge, really, it became very valid, especially during the COVID year. It was a lot easier just to sit back and use that as an excuse. Well, can't do much. It's COVID going around. But being intentional in that case was very, very critical, that we are going to make it happen. We did talk about just writing checks for the gala. That would have been the easiest thing to do. But, those bonds, connecting those dots, that was so much more critical, independent of the money we raised. getting it all over the world. So your points today you presented here, John, are very, very valid, and I can personally very much relate to those.
Mm-hmm. And you get into Rotary, and then it gets into you, and you get into the cause, and then it gets into your heart. And every time I've been to the Philippines, the word that I come back with, sometimes you'll say, look for one word. It's humbled. I'm humbled on how much joy they have at $4 a day and how much angst I have because the market's moving all over the place and I'm not sure, what's going to be next. And so how do we get to the joy and the simplicity? We go a long distance with the different causes, like the things you're doing in India, but maybe, and the things we're doing around here, but you're going that distance so you can go 18 inches from your head to your heart. That's the journey you take while you make the journey in Rotary for the causes.
Absolutely.
Other questions or comments? Thanks.
Thank you, John. It's Mary Helen. Just want to say thank you for that presentation. It, sometimes you get burned out doing things, but what you said today really makes you feel important.
You are important, Mary Helen.
Very true, Mary Helen. Very true. And everything what you do for the club. Thank you.
There's something, you'll see it in the last page of the handout, that, we have our feelings that lead to choices, but actually our thinking leads to our feelings. You saw something that impacted your thinking today, and because of your thinking shifting, you felt special, needed, important. I showed you pictures that impacted your thinking first, but what you saw then spoke to your heart. And oftentimes we guide our day by what we feel. We try to feel our way into new actions versus think and act our way into new feelings. And so when we embrace causes and things, just causes, look for our whys, but even the causes that are bigger than us, as we get involved in just the inspiration of being in this meeting with other connectors and caring people that sing for and with you, then that thinking shifts. And so look at that first 10 minutes of the day and what you might do to impact like you did today. And, we'll share the recording too. Other questions? Thank you, Mary. Or comments?
John, how do you balance, you mentioned just kind of the day-to-day of worrying about like the stock market, but like, how do you balance, like, I think one of the biggest struggles I've always faced, and people that know know this well, but, how do you balance it all? And like, if we all know what's most important, like Judy, her father, her mom, she would give, if she had it, she would give more and more time to those relationships. And I know that, and I know that's in like my kids and my wife and my friends and even to Rotary, but yet you get pulled in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you personally keep that balance? And do you feel like you do a good job at that?
Well, you're always going to have tension. Bridges work because they have tension in them. And so you're a connector personality. You're a lot like me. I'm a hugger as well. All those things. And so we often look for, do I have the connection? Or if I start to feel like I'm severing a connection, which creates a lot of angst in us, then we feel like something's wrong when really we could be taking a step towards something that is healthier. There's a misnomer. I believe people call it work-life balance. It really isn't. It's not the word balance. It's the word integration. We're integrating our work, our life, our family, and the aspects of things that we do. And possibly if money is a motivator or we're looking at bottom line numbers, we need to be able to put doing laundry is important and somehow speak that into the importance of our day. Literally block it off in your calendar and let the calendar drive your day. And then when your feelings of disconnection might be, and this is how people who are very work driven and then taking time with kids or family, it's about making those significant moments, defining it as such, and then practice it. Based on your faith perspective, we're, for many of us, in a season of what's called Lent. Regardless of what that is, oftentimes people are looking at what they need to give up for it, but it's the giving up of something that allows you to have the freedom to turn towards. And it's who and what you're turning towards that is most important. So make the list of the family members, the things in your life, Casey, that are important to you, including yourself. You're in the center of that circle as well. And say, this is what's important. And then start making choices to it and let your feelings follow. They might not catch up for a while.
Thank you, John. I think Winnie had a question. Winnie? I don't know. Is she still there?
Yes. I want to say thank you to John. I mean, that was a beautiful presentation. And whilst he was talking, I had some other things which came up in my mind, and a short story, but I'm not going to do that today. I would join the meeting some other time and give a kind of remarks as per what the presentation is given. But in the meantime, I would just appreciate a copy, an e-copy of the presentation. I am sending a message already for my email address so that we can have it. But at some other time, I will give the additional. It's not only to those people at the end of the bridge, but also for us who are Rotarians. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Well, you know, something about the gift of Zoom, the gift of this pandemic is we always believed that we had to have in-person guests and in-person presenters. The first thing I did our first meeting was bringing people together. My second one, I canceled all our local speakers because all of my friends who are speakers were unemployed immediately, and I could bring in the best speakers from around the world for free. You know, because they just wanted to make a difference and keep their minds active and then return favors and make those connections. And so us connecting, you know, I can speak in Nigeria. We can speak for the different groups around. You can be a part of another club. You don't have to miss a meeting. You can pop in. There's all these beautiful gifts that are in this. We can email the handout and we can make available parts of the presentation, or we can share it around the world. So it's a pleasure. Rest in that. I mean, hybrid is going to be coming. It's the way to be in person and away at the same time. It honors the people that want to meet together. It honors the people who want to stay home. If you're wintering in Florida or in another place, guests from around the world like today, all of a sudden it's so possible. But we would have never, without being forced, embraced learning this kind of technology. There's no way. We've been trying to invite people to use technology for years. And
a lot of us didn't know the word Zoom, at least in this context.
It used to be "I love you" was something that we rose to the top, and now it's "you're on mute." It's the most commonly heard phrase this last year. You're on mute, or the cat filter video that went around. I know I'm not a cat, you know, but it's the things that are happening.
I love the most is when they say you're on mute, they scream at top of their voice as if it's going to get across even better.
When you are talking to your kids and they're not understanding something, typically we talk louder and slower. And if you're in a foreign country with a different language, we tend to use our language, but we talk louder and slower, thinking that if I say in Italy, pizza you know, try to make it sound Italian, but use an English word. And they're going, I know English, but it's like we go louder and slower versus learning the language, speaking the language, and then receiving it. And so we've been on mute maybe in our life as a metaphor. Let me just say this seriously, using the humor. I've got a friend that is a broker. He's a money manager, very high level, and he loves Casey kind of, you know, he enjoys the numbers and he takes it with his clients till 8 at night. Being at home with his 5 kids, it was 6, 7, 8 weeks in. I said, what have you learned? He said, I had lost the moral authority as a father. My kids would look at me and I would try to discipline and they'd say, you're never here. Why should I listen to you? You know, they went to church, but he was the one dropping them off in the van on Wednesday night. They did all the other things. But after 6 weeks of dinner together, they were looking to his voice because they wanted it. They wanted the voice, but they needed to trust, and that took time, and they needed to see the relationship. And then people always gravitate towards what in natural law is in their best interest. Mother's mother, father's father. There's the element of having both voices or having the voices of the couple, whatever it might be. But the point is when we slow down, we start to realize that we've been on mute for a long time. And now it's a chance for us to get off mute and to actually show up, and or they had us on mute because we didn't give the relationship first. We didn't have the connection. We didn't have the moral authority or the right to take the relationship to whatever might be next, whether it's the gift. Some people go on these they'll go on a 1-week mission trip, and the people that they give everything to feel used. It's like they felt like the people from America just came to Disneyland, and they had to check the box, and they had to see the real poor people drop off the food and leave. And so actually they're using people, they call it toxic charity. We're using people to fill our need to give versus being immersed in the causes that we value, get off mute and show up and receive each other, whether it's across the world or whether it's across our own dinner tables.
Very true. Very true. Cordelli, you had a question?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Raj. It is not much of a question, but
where are you from, sir?
I'm from Lagos, Nigeria.
And were you in Hamburg?
Yes, I was in Hamburg.
Did you speak in Hamburg?
No.
Okay. I felt like I met you on the way into the building. I recognize the name. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to say that what Van Winkle and John spoke about. John spoke about bridge, and Winkle spoke about relationship. I see a connection between the two, and that's what Rotary is all about. We connect, with people. We connect with ourselves, and we also bridges, amongst communities where we offer our talents, our treasures, and our thinking to ensure that we have peace in this world. So I want to thank the two of you for the great speeches that you made this afternoon, and I'd like to be part of your meeting subsequently. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Jennifer and I are hoping we can do a project in Nigeria. Jennifer is leading that, and later on, both of us are going to be in your meeting. So we'll be joining your meeting about 11 today. So wonderful. As John said, this is the gift of COVID. So there's no way we would have connected. Now you are in our meeting. Such a wonderful thing. Such a wonderful thing. Anything else for John?
No, other than Raj, I have 2 pages of notes. It would have been nice for me anyway, because I don't think fast enough for all the concepts that John ran through that I thought were great nuggets. It'd be nice if he could ever grace us with his, a year from now, come back and
unpack,
share, maybe maybe take segments of what he talked about. You covered a lot of ground.
I wanted to introduce some things and land it. Some of it is my own insecurity of being enough. So can you take 1 or 2 points and unpack it like a 3, and or, share more. So I wanted to give you a strong metaphor connected to your club, and then give you a few, pictures that you could take with you that we could unpack more later. Did you get the handout in advance? You're going to have that to fill in and move your notes over, and you can we do have the recording of this, so you can, Raj, I can show you, I can actually edit it for you if you want, and make it available for your club to watch if you want to take, revisit some of this.